This is the What Are We Doing? Phillies podcast. Here's your host, Kevin Flannery.
Good evening, Philadelphia. I am back, and I've got a lot to say. After taking over the day game note job, I have a ton of notes. I have a ton of things to get to. I have my perfect trade deadline. I have stats, my thoughts of the last week, the Harper comments, the Dombrowski comments, all of that to go into today. So I wanted to give you the rundown. Let's start here. We left off after the Dodgers series wasn't going great. We left off. They lost 2 of 3 to the Dodgers. And then we knew we were going on to play the Yankees, who are not the greatest of teams. They're a good team, but they're not amazing. And then there's the Marlins, who were going into the series that we played them. They hadn't won a game since the end of the All-Star break, or since before the All-Star break. So going into the series against the Marlins were on a 12-game losing streak. But as we know, we are Phillies fans, and nothing comes easy. I go away for 6 games. I come back to a team that in the time I'm gone goes 1-6 or 1-5. 1-5. That means you got swept by someone. You know who you got swept by? The Marlins! People! What's happening? What is happening? And we'll figure out why. We'll at least talk about it. It's a nightmare. Let's just recap some of these games. Yankees series, game 1, a 1-0 loss to the Yankees. Schlittler was pitching. Schlittler's really good. He got 12 strikeouts against the Phils. Anytime the Phillies face a really good pitcher, the strikeouts are coming in hot. We almost gave Mizorowski his only no-hitter of the season, which we just strike at. We swing and miss so often, so any decent pitcher is going to get the hand of that. Then we lose 3-1 the next day. We get 7 hits, score 1 run on a sac fly in the first inning, and then don't score again. We got pretty much shut down by a pitcher with, before the game, had over a 4.25 ERA, only worked 2 walks in the whole game, and we had a bullpen game because we don't have a 5th starter. Didn't win that one. Again, now we have scored 1 run in the last 2 games there. Then all of a sudden, we score 11 runs and win the game 11-4 on Sunday Night Baseball. National media looks at us like, oh, they're doing okay. They hit when they're on national TV. The only win they've had in the last 6 games, pretty much a fluke because everyone just hit the ball. Sanchez was He walked 3, allowed 3, 6 hits, and 6 strikeouts. And again, the game was on Sunday Night Baseball, so you got to hear Joe Girardi and John Kruk talking to each other. Then you leave that, you're like, okay, let's put those two really rough series against the Dodgers and the Yankees. We knew those were going to be tough. Now we go to play the Marlins in Miami. And Miami continues for this Phillies team to be a horror zone. They get swept. By the Marlins. Swept by the Miami Marlins, who are going into this series on a 12-game losing streak. Why? How? And guess what? We find new ways to lose. We ended the 12-game losing streak of the Marlins by blowing a 5-2, coming back from down early, 5-2, and then in the bottom of the 9th inning, we just allow 3 runs and Duran's pitching. So there we go. So Duran's 3rd blown save of the season. Then you have a 1-0 shutout loss. You get shut out by the Marlins. 1-0 shutout loss to the Fish, 2nd shutout in their last 5 games. Nola actually does well, and we get a bunch of weak contact and an awful performance by the offense. Then you have the biggest, probably the most annoying one of all of these. You're up 6-0 by the top of the 5th inning. You lose the game by allowing 8 unanswered runs in the bottom of the 5th onward. First time since August of 2022 versus the Diamondbacks, when we allowed 13 unanswered runs from the 4th inning onward. Any of this sound bad to you? Any of this sound not good to you? Because it doesn't sound good to me. I don't know what I missed, but all that doesn't sound good to me. So I'm not going to rant to you for the whole podcast, but I just wanted to understand how we got to this, because all those podcasts would have just been 5-minute rants, 5-minute rant, 5-minute rant. And here we are. This is what happens. The current Phillies averages and OPSs around the team are terrible. Your highest batting average on this baseball team, other than Brian De La Cruz, who hasn't been up here for long enough, and he's batting like 571, that doesn't really count, is Derek Hill's batting 280. Marsh has crashed back down to earth. Derek Hill's batting 281. Marsh is batting 280. Justin Crawford, 257. Bryson Stott, 254. Harper and Schwarber both have the same batting average. Harper and Schwarber should not have the same batting average. It just shouldn't be. We shouldn't be at that point. Harper should have a better batting average than Schwarber. I know average is not like the end-all, be-all number, and OPS is pretty much. OPS, still not looking great. Schwarber's 911, which is pretty good, which is really a good hitter. Then Harper's 848, crashing. He's going down. Hill, again, is up there. Derek Hill's 824. Brandon Marsh is under 800 now with a 776. Bryson Stott's at 725. Turner's under 700 at 648. Turner's average is also at 243. JT's under 660. He's at 659. Bohm's at 653. This is the most fascinating thing. Justin Crawford, 645. And Mundo Sosa is 679. And at 579 and almost a 600 OPS, a guy who's not even on the team right now because he's injured, Adolis Garcia. He has a better OPS than Sosa. Please, people. Sosa is batting 208. Sosa's getting to be unplayable. I'm not in the mood to watch Sosa anymore. If you want to trade him, go trade him. So we end up pretty much having all that. Then Harper, before the Marlins series, is making public comments and saying the team needs help, and pretty much saying that we're not good enough, and basically said, like, we're not a good enough team unless you go get help. So what, if they don't do anything big at the deadline, we just don't watch them? Is that what you're trying to tell me? I don't like that, but that's the message you're starting to give out. A complete mess, and something we have bigger issues. Now, the Phillies are in the market right now, as we get into the trade deadline conversation. They're in the market right now for a right-handed hitter, preferably an outfielder, a bullpen arm, and a fourth, fifth starter. I put them in that order. Who knows what they value the most? I think they value the most a bullpen arm, right-handed hitter, and then a fourth, fifth starter. For like caliber-wise, I think it's preferably for me would be a right-handed hitter and then a bullpen arm, because they need offensive help. Their starting pitching's good. I know their bullpen stinks, but I feel like you can get a reliever, make those two your priorities. Fourth and fifth starter to me is not that high on the priority list. There hasn't really been a guy that they've said that they're not shopping other than that 17-year-old young kid prospect. He's clearly not being shopped right now, but other than that, Crawford, they've said, is on the table. Painter is on the table. And Crawford, look, if Crawford's on the table, Crawford has the 257 batting average in the majors. He has the major league experience now. Young kid, definitely someone who can grow and be a young prospect, and definitely a good trade piece to put in a deal. You have Painter, who has the major league experience, didn't do so well, but he's definitely he's available. Aiden Miller is available. Gage Wood is available. Alec McFarlane among the names that they've kind of dangled out there. And then you have this list of guys from an NBC Sports Philadelphia article. And the NBC Sports Philadelphia article was really good. It was an article written by Cole Weintraub. W-E-I-N Weintraub. I don't know how to say his name. But Cole, I think this may be Cole the intern, the old Cole that we used to have, the intern. Let me look this kid up real quick. Yeah, Cole. I think he's Cole the intern, which would be kind of funny and cool, like, for people to know. Yeah, this is Cole the intern. So Cole the intern, who was on the TV at different points, now he's writing articles and working for NBC Sports Philadelphia. Good to know for him, but he wrote this great article that has a lot of these names, and the names that were mentioned in it, I decided to grab some numbers and do some research about them. So a bunch of these names, I'm going to throw a lot of names at you, and then we'll dive into them all. Let's start with this. Heliot Ramos from the Giants, Joe Adell, right-handed hitting outfielder from the Angels, Taylor Ward, right-handed hitting outfielder from the Orioles. We'll see him this weekend. Eric Miller, left-handed reliever from the Giants. Brooks Raley, left-handed reliever from the Mets. Shane Bieber, right-handed starting pitcher from the Blue Jays. Tyrone Taylor, right-handed outfielder from the Mets. Clay Holmes, right-handed starting pitcher with bullpen experience from the Mets. Robbie Ray, left-handed starting pitcher from the Giants. Zach Neto, right-handed shortstop. That's a name we'll talk about in a minute. Luis Ariz, batting .330-something, left-handed hitting second baseman. I have some thoughts on that one. Adrian Morhone, left-handed relief pitcher from the Padres. Right-handed pitcher, relief pitcher Jeff Hoffman from the Blue Jays, former Philly. George Springer, right-handed outfielder, but he's been a DH most of this year, is from the Blue Jays. George Springer. Dalton Varsho, right-handed outfielder from the Blue Jays this season. And Luis Robert Jr., who's been with the White Sox for a long time and then signed with the Mets and got hurt right away. I know that's a lot of names. I know it's also a lot of names that I'm assuming none of you have ever heard of. So we'll do a little dive into a couple of these players, but like, for example, you have the outfielders on this list of Ramos, Adele, Ward, Tyrone Taylor, Dalton Varsho, and Luis Robert Jr. Luis Robert Jr., if you're wondering, Robert's batting around 200. He'd fit into this lineup just great, a 200 hitter. Dalton Varsho has been right around the 247 hitter so far this year. He's been a pretty good bat, and again, if you're batting 247 and your OPS I don't know where, and his OPS is up in the just under 700. Like, you're gonna slot right into this lineup in a spot where you are the fifth best hitter on this team. You're one of the top 5 best hitters on this team if you bring in a guy like Dalton Varsho. Dalton Varsho also with playoff experience, career batting average though, career regular season of only a 230 hitter. So yes, is he playing a little bit better than he normally does? Yes. Are you trying to catch that lightning in a bottle like Bader? Definitely. Elioid Ramos is younger with more team control. Joe Adele is more of a power bat. Taylor Ward kind of fits the way of this team. He's been a name we've kind of looked at for years. He's batting around 250s. He's already got 30 RBIs. We're going to watch him play. He's probably going to do great against us this weekend because who doesn't do good against us? His OPS is in the 740s. Like, it would definitely be a guy I would look at. Then you have the different names of Clay Holmes and Tyrone Taylor. I don't really like the Tyrone Taylor name. It's a guy from the Mets batting right around 250, but still would slot in as a better hitter than a lot of the hitters on this team. So let's go. My perfect trade deadline would be this. Number one thing I would do is go out and grab Adrian Morhone to bolster the bullpen and give us a real left-handed setup man to Duran. No more Alvarado, BS that we have to deal with every single time he goes out there of a terrifying outing. You don't have to use Alvarado in that spot, and you can have a spot where you go from 7 innings of Sanchez, 8th inning goes to Morhone, and 9th inning goes to Duran, and that's like a perfect world scenario. Now, if you have to use other guys in the bullpen, you've got Kerkering out there, you've got Alvarado in a pinch. Boland's been somewhat okay, and maybe they can work with that. But I think Morhone is the big name relief pitcher that I would go get in my perfect deadline. Then I would bring Shane Bieber in to be your 5th starter, a guy with playoff experience, a veteran coming off of injury. His numbers on paper, if you just look at the numbers, where did he go? If you just look at him like right off the bat, it doesn't look great. A 2-2 record, a 5.75 ERA, and a 1.63 WHIP. I'm aware he just had his worst start of the season at his last outing, but I think that would make him an easier target for you to grab. He's a career pitcher of a 3.33 ERA. I think this is a guy that I would definitely go grab a flyer on. I understand that his last game was not good. He didn't even make it out of the first inning, allowed 1 hit, 4 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. But the last outings before that, they were pretty good. The last 2 against Tampa and the White Sox, who are 2 fairly good teams, he went 7 innings against the Rays, 6 innings against the White Sox. So I do think there's more of an upside there with Bieber that they may be able to sneak away from the Blue Jays for a lot less than you would have normally taken. So I like the idea of bringing in Shane Bieber. And my third thing, which is completely maybe not realistic, but I don't know if they really want to shake it up, is I'm bringing in Luis Arraez. Luis Arraez is one of my favorite hitters in the game. He's always moving around, always moving at the deadline. He's batting .331. He is batting .331. He's got 43 RBIs, 135 hits. He hits lefties, righties well. He hits everybody. I do not understand why he keeps getting traded. He's undervalued. He would be amazing. He would be such a good fit for this Phillies team. And I understand he's a left-handed hitter, but he can hit lefties and righties. You don't have to platoon him. He's been really, really good. His splits this year, just to show you, his lefty-righty splits, he's batting .331 against lefties, and he's batting .331 against righties. He's a all-around good hitter, and I want him on my baseball team. Now, with that, you would have to probably move Turner into the outfield, but that's what you would have to do if you brought in Zach Neto. Here's a realistic trade deadline. What I think realistically could happen. You bring Dalton Varsho in, who we already talked about. Varsho trying to catch the lightning in a bottle guy, playing better than his career numbers. Trying to catch him, he's not going to, or he won't be as bad as a Corey Dickerson, Whit Merrifield, Austin Hayes, that type of level guy that you bring in. I think that could work. Bringing in Clay Holmes seems like a perfect idea for the Phils. Clay Holmes is having a very good year. He's been a starting pitcher. He's been transformed into a starter. He has a 2.39 ERA, a 1.10 whip. He's been a very, very good pitcher. He pitches for the Mets. You've seen him against you. And the one thing that he does well, the one thing that Clay Holmes does well, is he's been in big moments in the World Series. He's been a closer before. He pitched for the Yankees, so he can move into the bullpen. He fits this team perfectly for what they need. He can help them get to the postseason, and if they're in the postseason, he can become that other guy if you were to bring in a Morahone or someone else that you can pair up with Duran. And in my perfect offseason, that's bringing in Jeff Hoffman. I understand Hoffman's contract is big, so you may not have to give up as much if you just accept to take that money. Hoffman's been great over the last 2 months, and then you could really pair a Duran, Hoffman, Clay Holmes in the playoffs. So if you only have Wheeler go 6 innings, the 7th can be given to Holmes, the 8th can be given to Hoffman, and the 9th can be given to Duran, and that really sets you up for greatness. So you pretty much get a starter and a reliever. That would be one of my top targets for the Phillies, and I think it's realistic for them to try to get Clay Holmes. And then, of course, the reuniting with Jeff Hoffman. My worst-case scenario deadline is bringing in Luis Robert Jr. and or George Springer. Robert Jr., we've been through this before. He's got issues. He's got health issues. He's always hurt. He's not consistent. Is he a good fielder and a good right-handed bat? Yes. Will he probably get hurt within the first 2 weeks of being on this team? Also, yes. Does he strike out a lot? Does he chase? Yes and yes. I don't want to deal with that. No. If you bring in a George Springer who's rumored here, he's mainly a DH. He then doesn't solve any of your problems. You're moving people around. He hasn't played the outfield that much this season. I don't know what you would be grabbing if you're getting a George Springer in on this team. I don't know if I can easily pull up the George Springer. I know he's great in the postseason last year, but he games by position. It says 1 in left field. I don't think he's been in the field much, like at all. He is not. He's been the DH for this team in Toronto. And yes, is he a career 265 hitter? He's 234 right now. He's an older guy. He's 36. He's at this point title chasing, I would say, or just trying to play and not, be playing that hard right now. I don't think he's a guy you want to bring in on this team. Then I don't like the idea of the Eric Miller. I don't like some random guy. I don't want to bring in some random reliever who's never pitched in big moments, has no big game experience, like an Eric Miller who's coming from the Giants. I don't want to bring that type of guy in. I really don't feel that is the right move for this team. You need to bring in guys who have experience in big moments because we can't have big guys faltering. Eric Miller was drafted by the Phillies. I don't know what happened to him. I think, I don't know what his whole thing is, but I'm pretty sure. So he was drafted by the Phillies back in 2019. I don't know when we traded him away. We must have traded him at some point. I don't know that off the top of my head. Let's do this quick. Eric Miller traded to the from Phillies. Who did we get in the Eric Miller trade? Eric Miller was traded by the Phillies to the Giants in February of 2023, and we brought in Junior Marte. Yeah, that didn't work. God darn it. We did not. That did not work. Why did we trade him away for Junior Marte? Well, that didn't work. I would love an Eric Miller right now, and not having Junior Marte, who's not even on the team anymore. So that's good to see. Just make you feel more depressed when talking about the Phillies. Other deadline notes. Just want to get these out there. I know people will say that Skubal and other names are out there on the market. Big names, Mason Miller. The Phillies are not in the Mason Miller or Tariq Skubal market. Would I be shocked if they get them? Yes. Would I be happy? Of course. But I think I can't think of the word right now, but would the price be too high and the guys were giving up too much for a guy like Miller or Skubal? Yes. Do I think they really need a Skubal if they can't have a good bullpen? Like if you bring in Tariq Skubal and you bring no one else in, you didn't really get that much better. You solved one problem as a fifth starter, and Skubal probably slots in as your 3 in the rotation, makes your rotation amazing, but I just don't think that's what the Phillies want to do here. The Zach Neto thing is interesting to look at. Neto's a right-handed third baseman or shortstop who has 4 more years of team control. He seems like a young kid. Long shot to get him, though. I think he's probably a Yankee, Red Sox, or someone like that. But if they did do that, that would mean they're going to have to be moving pieces around. Turner's going to the outfield. You're going to then lose. You're going to have to be playing these different guys. I think if you bring Neto in, you're probably making a deal where you're bringing Neto and you're bringing Adele in. And you're making a big move from out west, and you make that Anaheim move. And maybe a big shakeup is what we need. So, think about it this way. And if you want to think about this in a positive way, for once, if you want to think about the Phillies in a positive way, here we go. The team that made the World Series had Rhys Hoskins playing first base, terrible defensive player. Kyle Schwarber in left field, terrible defensive player. Bryce Harper was your DH. Nick Castellanos, terrible defensive player, was in right field. Stott was not playing second base. He was at shortstop. They had Gene Segura at second base, and that was your team. That's the team that made the World Series. So if you think about maybe a messy setup is what this Phillies team needs, and if you're throwing Turner in the outfield, moving things around in the infield, maybe that messy setup is just something that could work. It may click. And yeah, so that's what I have. So today is the State of the Phillies podcast. I know this is a little bit longer, but that's why it's the State of the Phillies podcast. It's not like a normal 5-minute podcast. Friday, there will be a podcast after the 7:05 game against the Orioles. Saturday, there will be a podcast after the 7:05 game against the Orioles. Sunday, there will be a podcast after the 1:35 game against the Orioles. And Monday, there will be a podcast after the 6:40 game against the Nationals. That will also be the trade deadline recap podcast. Making it said here, if there is breaking news on any day that will be the first thing that I talk about on the post-game show podcast. There will not be a separate breaking news podcast. There will not be 2 podcasts in one day. I have a podcast set up for every day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. For the next 5 days, I have podcasts set up. So with that being said, if there's any breaking news in that time period, it will just come at the start of the post-game show. Then we'll analyze the post-game show. But be ready for all those podcasts. I'm consistently with you until I have another trip. I go away. So then I'll be gone for a period of time. I will be gone and away from podcasting from Tuesday, August 4th to Wednesday, August 12th. So you get a little bit of time off from me while they play the Nationals, the Blue Jays, and the St. Louis Cardinals. And then I return with you when they play the Minnesota Twins in the Field of Dreams game. Will be my first podcast back on the 13th of August on the Field of Dreams game. So with that being said, that is your recap of the last few weeks, of the last 6 games of the Phillies, of the deadline, of my thoughts. Have a great night, everyone. I just noticed I should probably do what we do at the end of every podcast, getting you ready for the next game, the final game in July, end this horrendous month for the Philadelphia Phillies is going to be a fifth starter game. Who knows what we're going to do tomorrow for starting pitching? It's undecided. Bryce Young will go, or B. Young, I think is it Bryce Young? Brandon Young will go for the Orioles. 8-2, a 3.13 ERA, a 1.29 WHIP, and there's no way in the world the Phillies play well that game if we just lost 3 to the Marlins. So we'll see what happens. I'm Kevin Flannery signing off. Have a great night. See you later. Go Phillies, I guess. And welcome LeBron James to Philadelphia. Yeah, that happened too. Bye-bye. Do 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 do.